Hello friends, and welcome to another figure study where we are still appreciating the form in Transformers. Today we're taking a look at Unique Toys M-02 Gahz'ranka. I don't know how to pronounce that. It is basically Swindle from their Ragnaros combiner. And as I said previously with Archmond, I was never really huge into the Combaticons growing up, so I have no particular affinity for any of these characters in just a general sense. I just thought Archmond looked cool, and then I thought Gahz'ranka looked cool, and so I got them both. What's kind of funny is I didn't expect to like Gahz'ranka as much as Archmond, but I actually like him a lot more. The transformation is still pretty easy, but like it's a little more involved and satisfying to pull off, and he ends up looking a lot cooler in person than I expected. Like I thought I was going to have an issue with the purple hood and the tan everything else, but no, it works really well in practice. This is actually a really awesome figure, and it's a really nice vehicle mode. I know normally I don't do the accessories, I just have these attached because they kind of add to his awesomeness in robot mode, so I figured might as well just go over them real quick. So there's the big rifle and the missile, and as you saw, they just attach to the back of the Jeep there. Now, vehicle mode itself is very nice. I'm impressed. It's like there's a little bit of an interior here, complete with steering wheel. It's not great. I mean, you know, realistically speaking, there's barely enough room for a person to actually sit there, and like with the steering wheel here, there's totally not enough room. But it still looks good sitting in vehicle mode, because you get that effect of just like the windscreen and the seats and everything like that. There's not a lot of molded detail, but what's there works really well. It's just like the rivets and this sort of corrugated metal pattern on the back there. And as I always enjoy, there's just painted rims all over the place, and these little, I think those are rear blinkers. It's a simple design, but that's actually kind of to the alt mode's benefit. There wasn't a whole lot that needed to be painted. It's like a little bit of metal bits, or not metal, but like gunmetal paint there. A little bit there, a little bit there. Just minor texture details on the hood. Front blinkers. Just the silver for the lights and that grille. Like it's again, very simple detail, but it's simple in all the right ways. I know this is meant to be sort of a callback to the G1 cartoon. At least that's how I understand it. And I guess it works. I'm not really up on my G1 at all, but it's a really nice, solid Jeep mode. And it's impressive just how much robot they managed to hide in here. Like, really, there's not much to this that says robot. Alright, so him there for now. There you can see him with Archmond. I mean, of course, they're roughly the same size, because they have to be, because they both form legs for a very large robot. So realistically speaking, the scale is just... that's either a really tiny tank or a really big Jeep. But, you know, that's kind of how these things go. They do look, just stylistically, they look good together. I like how they both have, like, very simple matte color palettes that aren't too bright. They're not shiny, they're really nice, solid colors. And swapping Archmond for another tank, here we have Gahz'ranka with a Titan's Return Deluxe. So you can see he's definitely bigger than a Deluxe. And there is the Jeep mode with Samus for just a little bit more of an idea for scale. Alright, so to sum up the Jeep mode, it's very simple. Not a lot of textural detail there, but like the shape works, the robot's hidden really well. It's the right kind of simple in both the color scheme and the overall design. So let's get to that robot mode. here we have Gahz'ranka, or Swindle, in his robot mode, and that transformation is probably a lot less involved than it looked like on the video because of doing it at arm's length. But honestly, it's a very simple and easy transformation to pull off once you know where everything goes. And I really, really like how so much of the Jeep just unfolds and flips inside out to become various parts of robot. It was a really clever transformation. The proportions are quite nice. The the windscreen chest, I think that's meant, like, that's how it's supposed to be with Swindle. And if so, I mean, cool. That's a neat little feature. It definitely beats having just the front of a car as a chest, like a lot of the other Transformers do. And again, his color palette here is a lot more muted than I thought it was going to be. Again, I thought I was going to be bothered by the tan and purple combo, but here it works really well. That purple is, you know, just the chest and the eyes, and it all works. The tones are similar, so even though they're not necessarily complementary colors, the purple's not super bright while the tan is super muted. They're both kind of on the same level in that regard, which works really well. And there's just a lot of nice little darker gray bits of detail in here that help to mix this up a lot better than if it were just tan and purple. I mean, yeah, it cheats with the grill, like the front of the Jeep there for the waist, because as we saw in the video, the front of the Jeep is actually tucked into his chest now, but it's a minor cheat. And I do really like how the arms fold out and the legs, that panel that was the back of the Jeep, moves, and now you get all this nice added sort of robot-y detail on the shins. And these fold out and fill in that gap so that he doesn't have like it looks like he has a solid torso, even though his torso is mostly hollow and a lot of the Jeep is hiding in there. And even this bit, like this panel flipping around and having all of this added sort of robotic detail on the other side, so like all that corrugated metal texture is now inside the torso. It's just a really clever trick. And I really like how this all comes together. We got like some piston detail on the backs of the thighs there that is painted. Yeah, he's very cool. Doesn't really have much in the way of kibble. He just has a tire on his back, which can be removed if that's a problem, I guess. And he can wield it as a shield. Give him a little tire buckler, because why not? Yeah, he looks really good. The proportions on this guy are really nice. And like I said, I like all the little added gray details that kind of help to make the figure's color palette a little more visually interesting than if it were just the straight up like tan for the Jeep with like that purple hood. And here, some of the detail also is like, it works really well in that these added bits down here that were in the front of the hood are now in like the robot's stomach, I guess you could say. And it just works to kind of add extra details to it. And like, yeah, that detail is still visible in Jeep mode, but it's not as noticeable as here because now it's sort of complementary to the rest of the
figure's design.
So real quick, I'm gonna mess with these because, like I said, I think these are really cool. Take this little thing apart and plug this together, and this will make like a missile rifle. And I'll just put that in his hand, and I think it's a little bit easier. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to get the weapons in Gahz'ranka's hands than it is to get the weapons in Archmon's hands. Now this thing is interesting. It's got this tab here that can actually slot into the side here or here. And I don't want to put it here because that really kind of limits his elbow, so I just pop it in there because then it doesn't really hinder anything and it just looks cool. So yeah, this is a neat looking fellow when he's all armed up. This is typically how I have him displayed, although I don't usually have the shield, the wheel buckler on there. But the reason I gave him the wheel buckler is because I wanted to try something. I've seen promo shots of this guy where he's got the cannon kind of over his shoulder, and I'm trying to figure out how they did that. The nearest I can figure is maybe they pegged this on here. Nope, that totally doesn't fit. Okay, maybe because there's a hole in there, maybe that kind of doesn't really stay. Yeah, see, this is what kind of annoyed me about that promo shot, because... Let me put this back on. I thought that looked really cool, having the shoulder cannon, but there doesn't actually seem to be a good way of doing it. So I figured, like, there's a way to kind of cheat it. Not that. This, yes. Like, you can kind of wedge this in here, and that kind of, like, it holds, but it doesn't hold very securely. You can also just kind of put it over his shoulder, but again, it doesn't lock in anywhere, and I don't know why they chose to do that. Like, I feel like there could have been a place to peg something back here, and it's just, there is nothing. Like, you can kind of cheat and pop this up. I think maybe that will give you enough room to... Nope, because of the angle, it does not want to work. How about this way? Kind of, but not really. This way? Nope. I feel like that particular promo shot is false advertising because, like I said, you can do it, but it's not, like, you know, it's not pegged in at all. So that irritates me. I really don't understand why they sort of cheated the figure like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm imagining things, maybe there is a way to do this that I'm just not finding. But, like, I've checked the promo shot multiple times trying to figure out what they did, and I just could not find anything. Like, there's no shot of the back, so all I can do is kind of guess based on what I can see, and I just, yeah, have not been able to figure that out, unfortunately. Anyway, enough dwelling on the accessory nonsense. The head is Swindle, from what I understand. It's got that smirk, big old boxy helmet, purple eyes. It does have the light piping thing, but his is not... Like, it's about like Archimond's. It's not great. I mean, it works. I do kind of wish that they had just painted it bright purple instead of doing the light piping thing, but whatever. It's nicely sculpted, though. And just enough of those dark kind of gunmetal-y details to really make the face stand out, which I do definitely appreciate. Also, just because of the shape and the design, it blends in pretty well to the bottom of the Jeep mode, so that's a plus. Alright, let's put him back here. And here we have Gahz'ranka with Titan's Return Deluxe, Hardhead, and Samus. So he definitely gets to be about masterpiece-ish scale, I think. And there we have 2 of the 5, I guess, combiner team that... I'll move him in a little bit more. That we will eventually get to finish. I'm honestly thinking I am going to finish this set just for the individual bots, because, I mean, this looks... They look so good standing next to each other. And, I mean, I still, like, in my mind, I think if, just based on these 2, if it was down to, you know, just picking one, I would pick Gahz'ranka over Archimond. But that doesn't mean Archimond is bad. I still think Archimond looks fantastic in robot mode, and just the 2 of them complement each other so well in terms of overall design aesthetics and color tones, and it's just really good-looking stuff. These 2 look fantastic. I feel like I am eventually going to cave and order their and order Unique Toys version of Onslaught, but we'll see what happens. That figure's still a little ways out, so I've got time. Now, I was thinking of closing it out at this point, but I kind of want to go over some of the finer details of Gahz'ranka a little bit more, because I feel like there are a few things that I missed. A decent amount of it is just Jeep, like the legs here, and a decent amount of the chest, and like the upper arm areas, but just so much of it flips inside out to both expose new bits and hide old bits that it's really, really cool. And I really like how the seats of the Jeep end up becoming his feet. Like, that's just clever. Like, there's the back of the seat, and then it just folds up. There you go, and that's the bottom of the seat. It's like all this nice little detail. The thighs, a lot of it, like a fair bit of it painted. Like here and up here. And would like to take a moment to appreciate this bit here that, again, it fills in the gap, but it is also painted in places where you've got like a little bit of that gray that kind of ties it into the color of the thighs, a little bit of that tan. That it doesn't color match, it is definitely off when you compare it to the tan plastic, but it's close enough, and it's in his underarm, so it's not really an immediately noticeable difference. It's just really great details on this guy. Just those little gunmetal bits on the forearms. And again, I really do appreciate how they completely flip the panel here around, and it becomes the back and reveals all new details. Fairly robotic looking details that are even painted in spots. And yeah, just so much wonderful detail in this guy. You can see into his chest if you look up this way, but other than that, it's all very well hidden. Gahz'ranka is really cool. He is a very, very neat figure that I did not expect to like more than Archimond, but I totally do. And as I said, I don't dislike Archimond now. I still think Archimond is neat, but he is the better of the two as far as I'm concerned. I was not expecting to be saying that. Anyway, that is going to do it. That has been my look at Unique Toys M-02 Gahz'ranka from the Ragnaros combiner, and definitely worth it if you're in the market. He is... I don't want to make such a wild claim as to say he's like the most masterpiece, third-party masterpiece version of a figure that I've ever seen, but he kind of has that feel. Just something about the overall quality and detailing and transformation. It kind of makes him feel like, I don't want to say, like, he doesn't feel like an official masterpiece, like a Hasbro or Takara masterpiece, because it's hard to explain. They're just certain bits of engineering in the official products that always seem kind of unique. But for all of the masterpiece alikes that I've handled, done by third-party companies, I think he is the most masterpiece just in terms of overall feel. Which is a terrible thing to be talking about in a video format, which has no tactile sense to it whatsoever, but really, I mean, if you know anyone who has this guy, or if you have a chance to check him out at like a convention or something like that, by all means do, because he's very solid and just very fun to mess with. And he looks really cool. Anyway, that's going to do it. So, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.